Hello and welcome everyone to today's webinar, Optimize Your Technology and Strategy for a Virtual and Hybrid Events Dominated Future. We're so excited that you joined us today. My name is Zach Bosin and I'm the VP of Product Marketing and Communications at BlueJeans by Verizon. And I'm so excited today to be joined by Art Schoeller, VP and Principal Analyst at Forrester. And first we're going to start with Art providing some great research insights around virtual and hybrid events.
Zach, thanks so much. And I first of all, at the front end here, want to thank BlueJeans for sponsoring this really interesting research because it is so timely. You know, it's like a year ago, what the heck happened? We had to scramble. Because of the pandemic, the events business just absolutely disappeared in a nanosecond. In fact, I've got personal experience with this. My son-in-law works in the events business in Portland, Oregon. Boy, did he have to scramble and did their business evaporate. I also have a niece who's a really well-known anime illustrator, and part of her life is attending Comic-Cons. And where did that go? So here we are, coming back, sort of. What does this mean for everybody as we anticipate going back to physical events? Well, first of all, how did everybody pivot? The pivot to virtual conferences for some organizations was rapid and well-planned, whereas for others, it was a struggle. And the events business is very important for many, many organizations. It's a source of revenue. Events are a source of building relationships with prospects, customers, suppliers, value-added resellers. I mean, I worked for Microsoft for 4 years, and I had the experience of going to a Worldwide Partner Conference where, hey, it's a conference with 30,000 of your closest partners and friends. But this pivot to virtual, and I want to tell a little anecdote about Forrester's experience here. Every year, our Customer Experience North America is traditionally held at the New York Hilton. Well, we cap it because of the physical size of the location and what space we reserve. We had to go virtual, and we did it very, very quickly. And the learning from our events organization was that, wait a minute, we registered more attendees than we would have been able to do had it been a physical event. So going virtual has been a journey for many of you for the last year. But as we go back, what does this mean? We have now had users who've been conditioned to an experience, and many of you, if you're attending this today on your laptop or tablet and on that little tiny screen as opposed to seeing my presentation in person, this is what we've gotten used to. We've gone from the physical meeting rooms, that eye-to-eye contact that we have and that body language that we have by being in person to something on a small screen. And so what does that really translate to for people who depend on the events business as part of what they do? So we've got some research here. This is Forrester Technographics that from 2019 to 2020, the percentage of in-person meetings dropped. Not by a huge percentage, but this may be because of the timing of the research, but virtual meetings rose by a significant percentage. Quite honestly, I look at this actual data and I say, I think had we taken this sample further and deeper into the pandemic, these numbers probably would have shifted quite a bit. And so at the end of the day, we see that there is this transformational thing that the pandemic has caused. Quoting our VP of events at Forrester, the pandemic did to the events industry what Amazon did to retail. A true disruption, a true disintermediation, if you will. But are we going back? And when do we go back? And when we go back, what are we going to do? Forrester's really been tracking very closely from an employee experience perspective, and our advice to organizations is to adopt what we're calling an anywhere work strategy. The work from home genie is out of the bottle, and employees who have experienced this, organizations that have experienced this, the advantages and the disadvantages, well, the votes are coming in. Our projection is that 10% of organizations once having gone virtual, are going to stay there, or they were virtual in the first place. For example, GitLab was virtual in the first place. Agile development teams distributed geographically. And they actually write some pretty good research about virtual work. But in our work with Forrester clients, and our survey data shows that a significant percentage of organizations are going to adopt a hybrid strategy. 3 days in the office, 2 days work from home, more flexibility. And so what does this mean in terms of when we actually go back to work, from being able to deploy meeting technologies and being able to manage events? Now, there's 30% of organizations from a cultural or an operational perspective are saying that, yep, we're going to go back to kind of like our old model. For example, Amazon has a very distinct culture internally in terms of how they work. And so that makes sense that once we're able to go back, we're going to go back to the office. But generally speaking, we're saying that, hey, the future is, and here's just a play on words, phygital, combining the physical and the digital for a hybrid type of experience. And so today, how do you really look at going forward in this phygital or hybrid world to conduct events? How do you recreate or facilitate the social element, that mixing during the coffee hour, the post-track session presentation, sidebar conversation with a presenter, the ability to interact if the event includes exhibitions with vendors who are displaying? You know, it really is this hybrid environment, taking virtual platforms and in-person experiences. This is the sweet spot that our research is showing that organizations need to adopt going forward. So, you know, what does this mean? What's on the mind of chief marketing officers? What is their way forward? This is where we collaborated with BlueJeans, and they sponsored this research to really tap a number of practice leaders for events, chief marketing officers, and where do they feel they're going to be going as we go into the future. First of all, many organizations, because we had to move fast, really didn't have enough time to select their events software. In some cases, organizations, when they had to, wait a minute, we're going totally virtual, what meeting application do we have in our organization that we use for our employees? And so a number of organizations just picked the one they had and they ran forward. But the move was done very quickly. And this has had a knock-on effect for some organizations in terms of the results they were able to derive and how they were able to succeed in a virtual world. And so what did they learn? You know, what are the biggest impacts of a poorly delivered virtual or hybrid event? No surprise here. Costs go up, missed opportunities, and the potential for generating revenue, and a poor customer and attendee experience. And actually the fourth one here, damage to the brand. So it's really critical to kind of take a step back and really understand what's going on here as we move forward into this hybrid or phygital type world. So 66% of firms struggle to achieve the same success from virtual that they would get from in-person. It's very challenging to really think through the logistics, think through the planning, and think through the execution of an event so you can get not only as good as, but perhaps even better results from your event going forward in the future. And we really think this is where the sweet spot lies. Virtual events themselves, we asked the survey respondents, well, you know, if you go all virtual, how does that differ from physical? And it's like very, very interesting that there's some shortcomings from totally virtual events as well. But, you know, what can people achieve when they execute well and that they really take advantage of what's available in virtual events? There's greater flexibility for the audience. This is one thing that we found at Forrester, is that There's also a time shifting element. I don't need to devote an entire day. I don't need to get on an airplane that the attendees, and so this drives up engagement, can sort of time shift their attendance of keynote speeches, of track sessions, even perhaps have a virtual birds of a feather session that's scheduled at another time. So it's the blending of these two that we look at, that organizations pre-pandemic, during the pandemic, and post-pandemic are thinking through what they will be able to gain from a merged type of strategy. One big thing here, we want to make for a great experience for the attendees. How do you personalize that? Can they build their own schedule? Can they do a better job of social networking with birds of a feather, people they don't know, people they might want to get to know? And so developing a new hybrid event strategy went from 43% pre-pandemic to up to 59% post-pandemic. So there's no question that bringing these all together, and I'm not going to drain every point on this chart, is really a top-of-mind item for chief marketing officers out there. At the end of the day, there's many things from an execution perspective, people, process, and technology, the classic three. But certainly one thing that begs and actually sets the stage for success is choosing the right platform. Going back to that scramble at the beginning of the pandemic where many organizations just, hey, what's our current collaboration platform? Well, let's use that. Well, there's a pause. There's a thought process. 78% have agreed strongly that the technology platform plays a significant role to really merge these two together. And that, the firms agree that the improvements to their virtual hybrid event strategy, they can achieve same or greater success as simply in-person events. So this compare and contrast to the physical, in-person, pre-pandemic kind of world. Now, granted, there were virtual events happening then as well, but the pandemic just put a huge exclamation point on awareness, chief marketing officers being forced to, and now learning from, they can really derive a number of great advantages. So, Zach, you've got a few things that you want to run through from a BlueJeans perspective here. Hopefully, the data that we've collaborated on kind of points in the direction of what you'd like to talk about here and what your platform is capable of.
Thanks so much, Art. And I'm so excited today to introduce everyone to BlueJeans Events, our interactive live streaming platform for webinars, virtual events, virtual trade shows, so many awesome use cases. And for those of you that aren't as familiar with the platform, today we're going to talk through a couple of the key areas that make BlueJeans Events so unique. Number one, our production-grade experience, really delivering HD video, Dolby Voice audio, really almost a broadcast quality experience. We're going to highlight how engaging the solution is with our great interactivity features. And we're going to talk about the scale that we're able to achieve and how easy it is to join and use the platform. But before we get into some of the specific features, what I'd love to do is just demonstrate some of the scale that we've experienced over the past year with BlueJeans Events. So to try to give you some perspective on just the incredible usage that we've seen, I've got a chart here. And really what you see is kind of the utilization of BlueJeans Events in terms of the number of events that we held on the platform in 2019. And that was about 37,000. But last year, in 2020, we held 155,000 events on BlueJeans Events. And really just to give you some perspective on that, basically in 2019, we were hosting about 145 events every workday on BlueJeans Events. But last year, during kind of the peak pandemic and throughout, we were hosting about 600 events per day on BlueJeans Events. And another way to look at it is just the number of hours that BlueJeans Events was in operation. So in 2019, we had about 4 million hours of BlueJeans Events. But in 2020, that shot all the way up to 24 million hours. So about a 6x improvement in terms of the number of hours that BlueJeans Events was used. So just a tremendous amount of utilization, offering incredible learnings and insights into what really creates powerful and engaging and dynamic virtual events for our customers on behalf of their audience. And what we wanted to do today was just highlight some of the key capabilities, some of the key features that help our customers to create those experiences on behalf of their attendees. First, I'd really like to show one of my favorite aspects of the platform, and that's the Moderator Dashboard. So within BlueJeans events, we actually have 3 different roles that have been identified. We have moderators who are responsible for controlling and really driving the event. We have presenters, those who are responsible for presenting the content, and of course attendees who are there to learn and engage and have a great time. And so the Moderator Dashboard is central to the event experience. That gives the moderator the controls to ensure that that production grade quality is delivered. And we do that with a host of features that you can see here on the slide. Starting at the top left, very simple but very important, we give the moderator the ability to start the broadcast, start the recording. And what's important about that is it also gives them the ability to have a green room before the event, intermissions in the middle of the event, and just really to control the agenda for the entire virtual event experience. Now, directly below that, where you can see actually the screens and the layouts, what's really important here is that the moderator has control of the video feeds that are coming in, how the different presenters are actually displayed on screen, and it really creates that more broadcast-like feature where you have the ability to show maybe multiple speakers in an interview session, focus on one speaker if they're presenting some key facts and findings, and mix it up. We know that having the ability to be more dynamic in these virtual events is a true driver of engagement and a driver of success. Now, secondarily, in the middle of the dashboard, you have your different chat capabilities, your content sharing capabilities. So if you need to engage with the audience or the other presenters, you can do that right in the middle of the screen. You have the ability to share different types of content, whether those are PowerPoint decks or whether that's video. We know that from a marketing standpoint, we really want to be able to highlight the brand, highlight different types of product features and capabilities, and do that in a more interactive and dynamic way. So once again, leveraging video has a definite best practice when it comes to incorporating different content types throughout your virtual event. And then over on the far right side, basically giving the moderator the ability to mute speakers, to be able to mute camera, to be able to really have the power to ensure that maybe you're getting some feedback somewhere, you can tamp that down, ensuring that the experience is production grade, that you have that high quality that you're searching for, and ensuring that your attendees get the best possible experience. And then finally, in the bottom right of the screen, you see Q&A and polling. Once again, we've got some interactive features here. The moderator needs to be able to understand, what questions are coming in and be able to answer those, as well as be able to serve up polling questions to create that degree of interactivity that we know is so important in the event experience. Moving on to that interactivity, and this is really what keeps the audience engaged, being able to ask them questions throughout the experience, provide different polls and surveys to get real-time feedback, and then tailor your content as you're going through a presentation. All of those things make a difference and keep people paying attention and staying focused. And so we've got a handful of different ways to keep the audience engaged. My personal favorite is that raise hand feature there at the top. And so what that allows the attendee to do is actually jump on screen. You can raise your hand, and then the moderator can bring you into the conversation. So you can actually ask the person who's delivering the content a question face-to-face. And what Art mentioned is trying to calibrate the virtual event experience so that it's so similar to the physical event experience that you feel like you've really shrunk the gap. Well, being able to raise your hand and interact live and see the person you're talking to, well, that's a great opportunity, just like you're in a breakout session at a large-scale event and you're going up to the microphone and asking a question. So it's a feature we love to talk about and a feature our customers love to use. And then, of course, you have your chat capabilities and the polls and the QA I mentioned all right there for attendees to take advantage of. Now, another really important aspect of BlueJeans events is the sheer scale and the ability to reach really large audiences. That's one of the big differences between kind of, your traditional video conferencing technology and more of a virtual event type of solution. And so maybe in a traditional video conference, you can host 100, 200, maybe 500 participants. Well, with BlueJeans events, you can scale all the way up to 50,000 participants in the native experience. And so that is just a phenomenal amount of scale that you can achieve with a platform like this. And so when you think about some of the challenges that organizations have had, those that have just adopted their core video conferencing solution for these types of use cases, they're going to run up against that ceiling. And so BlueJeans events provide you the opportunity to go much broader. But it goes beyond just being able to host that many attendees. You also need to make it easy to join, easy to use, easy to deploy. And so one of the things that is very powerful is the interoperability that BlueJeans events provide. So not only is it accessible on any operating system, whether you're on the desktop or a mobile device, you can really leverage it through a no download experience. So attendees can just join through the browser in their browser of choice. And when you think about trying to reach as many attendees as possible, you're really trying to reduce that friction, right? You want them to come to the event, have a great experience, and by having a browser-based approach, that really enables it. Now, one of the things that's also interoperable is the ability to join a BlueJeans event from any endpoint, a traditional video conferencing hardware solution. And while that might not be as relevant now during the pandemic, when you think about going back to the office and thinking about that production quality, well, room systems have incredible cameras, incredible audio capabilities. And so being able to be a presenter from a room system is hugely valuable when you're trying to put your best foot forward. Now, two other components here in terms of being able to reach the masses. One of my personal favorite things about the platform is the fact that we've taken Dolby Voice and incorporated it within BlueJeans events. So that gives you just this incredible audio quality, HD audio, noise suppression, all types of really impressive artificial intelligence that's built directly into the code base. And so when you're thinking about maybe you've got presenters out on the road, well, you're going to be able to enable them to come through crisp and clear and just have a great sounding event. And then finally, one of the things that we're seeing more and more of our customers interested is not only being able to invite attendees to the BlueJeans event native experience, but also live streaming that through your social streaming platform of choice. So we've seen a lot of interest in Facebook Live and YouTube Live, and we've created customizations so that whatever streaming platform you want to simultaneously send your broadcast across, you have the power to do that, to go as wide and as broad as you'd like. One more kind of set of key points around BlueJeans events that I'd like to share with anyone before we get to the Q&A, and that is, a really important point that I think Art was making earlier around planning. Right, jumping right into virtual events without being able to invest sufficient time in the virtual event strategy in terms of the actual agenda of the event. All of those things make a meaningful difference. And what we provide with BlueJeans events goes beyond just the power of the live stream. It's the event planning and logistics, having a really simple and straightforward way to schedule the event, being able to toggle back and forth in the administrative controls. Do you want to require registration? Do you want to make it open to the public? Tons of power in terms of just setting it up, but making it easy to do so anyone on the team can actually set up a BlueJeans event. In the middle of the slide, event execution. So we offer a great team of support engineers who can sit behind the deck, who can sit behind the boards and control the event on the behalf of our customers. And so we know that maybe not everyone out there is going to have a production team at the ready to help host these events. Not that you need it, but if you are trying to go that extra mile and put something together that has multiple video feeds and really looks like a television broadcast, well, BlueJeans has the ability to help you in those use cases. And then very important for marketers is the post-event follow-up. So having the analytics, having the rich understanding of the engagement of your attendees, and then pulling a lot of that registration data, that engagement data into your marketing automation solution of choice so that you can follow up, understand who is really interested in those topics, and build pipeline, right? And do the things that we're all here to do, which is actually help grow the business and drive things forward. And so all of those things are also included within the BlueJeans events platform. And so we're excited to share that with everyone today. Excited to have Art here sharing those great insights from Forrester. And now we'd love to open it up for some questions and happy to answer anything about the data or anything about the BlueJeans events platform.